Hi, I'm TaLynn Kel, and I am with
Antoinette J. Houston.
Hi, Antoinette. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well.
Okay, so is this have you been to Onyxcon before?
No, this is my first Onyxcon.
How about any other conventions?
I've only been to one other, that was last month.
Which one?
566 Book Girls, Atlanta Kickback.
I saw that. I didn't make it there, unfortunately. I had something else going on the same day. I'm going to ask you off camera how that was. So tell me about your books.
My books are a hobby that I've been writing over and over and over again since, I want to say, 1994. I have been writing these stories over and over again. I didn't publish my first book until 2014, when I turned 40, and that's when I did my first book. And then I just went on from there. I'm still writing.
So, what made you decide to do it? What made you decide to publish?
A cousin from California was telling me I needed to do something with my stories. Because I've got tons of notebooks, I've got floppy disks, I've got hard disks, I've got all kinds of files. They're just stacked up in one of my rooms.
So how has the experience been since you published?
Fun. I am enjoying writing. I enjoy seeing my stuff in print. I really do.
Okay, so is this all you do, or do you still have like a day job?
Yes, I have a day job. Gotta have the day job in order to be able to afford advertising and promotions.
So what type of advertising and promotions do you do?
Little stuff like on Facebook or Twitter and what's the other one? Amazon. On Amazon.
Okay. And how have you found the marketing to be for this?
It's a lot to deal with. It is a lot of work. I think that's the most work that I've had to come up to do as far as my books are concerned. That's the hardest part, is the advertising.
So not even the writing. The writing is...
I've got tons of imagination. I could write all day if I had the ability to do that. But yeah, advertising is definitely the hardest part of self-publishing.
So how have you tackled it? I know you said that you do those ads on Twitter and Facebook and so forth, and you come to conventions. Is there any other things that you do?
Yeah, I also make jewelry, so I go to festivals too. I also sell my books and advertise my books there as well, and making contacts. That's the main part right there, is making contacts.
Okay. All right. So I know, I talked to you a little bit earlier about your books, and it is 2 series that you have here?
Right now I have 2 series. I've got the space opera series of Mostly Human, and then my urban fantasy series of Red Summer.
Okay, so tell me about the urban fantasy series.
The urban fantasy series is about a group of kids that have graduated from high school, and now they're realizing that life is more than just getting a job and trying to be an adult. They have to deal with forgotten memories and fantastic abilities, and somebody actually coming from their past to try and kill them. So they've got to group together to save themselves.
Okay. And the Human series?
The Mostly Human series is my favorite series. It's also, I just completed it this year. So it's about what we're calling now a blurred. She's a blurred, but she was in the wrong place at the wrong time. She's now being forced into becoming a captain of an extraterrestrial ship, and she's got to deal with life with aliens.
Wow. Guess you didn't see that coming. I don't think anybody would they?
No.
Okay. Well, I guess that's it. I'm tired. I'm sorry. I've been doing this for a minute. So I want to thank you very much for taking time to speak to me. I will be honest with you, the Mostly Human one, that actually really appeals to me.
Okay. So
I'm going to actually be picking that up.
Oh, thank you.
Not in physical form. I got one of them e-readers now, and I can't go back to books. I can't go back to books. I am all e-reader now. I never thought that would happen.
Okay.
When the apocalypse happens, I'm gonna be sad, but I won't have nothing to read. But Hi, I'm TaLynn Kel, and I am here with
McCray. Gus Jordan.
Okay, so We are at Onyxcon. If you don't know, this is a con celebrating the African diaspora in arts and entertainment, media. So tell us a little bit about your project.
Okay. My project is called The Best Saturdays of Our Lives. Back in the day, it was a newsletter that I started from 1992 to 1996 that I sent to people in the animation industry and the comic book industry, and people really loved what they were reading. It was about competitive Saturday morning. It was about networks, ABC versus CBS versus Fox, and interviews with people who worked in the industry that sold cartoons to the networks and vice versa. And things started to take off, and I started getting freelance jobs from people. So I decided to take all those old newsletters that I had done back in the day and compile them into a book. And I've, since those newsletters were written a long time ago, and I know so much more, I decided to add up-to-date commentary. The Best Saturdays of Our Lives helped me get into the television animation industry.
Okay, that's actually really cool. Plus, you know, it's also a good historical document of what was going on at that time. Things have changed so much since then.
Yes, definitely.
Like, I couldn't even imagine. Like, even now, you know, people in my life, my age group, we all are like, remember when we used to wake up Saturday and eat like a bowl of sugar cereal and watch cartoons, and how we can't do that anymore, but we still like cartoons, and that makes us sad?
Yes. Well, that's the thing that I like to explain to people, that Saturday morning was a destination for people. There wasn't any 24-hour kid networks. There wasn't Netflix or streaming services. And so Saturday morning was the one place, it was the weekly treat that you look forward to at the end of the week to watch your favorite cartoons, to watch the newest cartoons. So it really made it a big deal, just having those cartoons on Saturday.
Very true. And how are you involved in the project?
Yeah, I'm here to support my friend Mark. Me and Mark worked with Adult Swim for many years. I met him in '97. Had a cartoon connection. I had a friend that produced a show that I was on TNT called Rudy and Go-Go, world famous cartoon show, and he showed me his newsletter, and a lot of the info in his book is based on the newsletter. Right now I do a blog called Grumpy Old Nerds on Jericho Broadcasting Network. You can catch it on Facebook. We had Mark on as a guest, and so I'm here to help him, you know, support his book and enjoy Onyxcon.
That's pretty awesome. So when did you publish this?
I published it at the beginning of 2016.
And have you been traveling quite a bit promoting the book?
Yes, I've had like several book signings. I've done a couple of comic book conventions. Earlier this year, I did a convention called Treklanta, and I presented a panel on the animated Star Trek series. I demonstrated how the animated series actually influenced some of the ideas that you saw later in Next Generation and some of the other Star Trek movies and shows that came later.
Wow. So give me an example.
Okay, one of the examples is the holodeck that was first seen in Star Trek Next Generation was originally seen in the animated series. The idea of the holodeck was shown in the animated series first. Captain Kirk's middle name, Tiberius, was first mentioned in the animated series. So those were a couple of things.
That is very interesting, and they weren't the same writers at all.
I'm sorry?
And they weren't the same writers?
It was a lot of the same
Okay.
writers. Yes. So the animated series is really a continuation of the original Star Trek series. It was Gene Roddenberry was involved. It was a lot of the same writers that were involved on the original series that wrote the script for the cartoon series. And in fact, they even brought in people that they wanted to use for the live action series, but never got a chance to because the show got canceled. So it's considered like the fourth year of Star Trek. And as recently as 2007, the animated series is now canon. Before, it wasn't canon, and then they decided, you know what, it is canon.
They have just been arbitrarily I think it's wherever they think they can sell products. I think that's how they decide what becomes canon.
Exactly.
So tell me about the whole marketing strategy for this. Like, I'm always curious about when people publish, how they approach their marketing.
Okay, so The book talks about how Saturday morning became competitive through the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. The 60s, you had the superhero shows. In the 70s, you had all the musical groups like the Archies and Josie and the Pussycats. And a lot of the African-American programs came on, like the Harlem Globetrotters and the Jackson 5. The 80s, you had the Toy Stories, the toy shows like He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, and shows like the Smurfs. All the little cutesy shows like the Smurfs and the Snorks. And then in the 90s, you had this explosion of the X-Men series and Power Rangers. And the 90s was really the last hurrah. So if you are a baby boomer, the 60s and 70s are the book that talks about the 60s and 70s are the parts of the book that's going to appeal to you. If you're not a baby boomer and you watch cartoons in the 80s and 90s, that part of the book will appeal to you. Because at one point when I was doing the newsletter, I had written about the 60s and 70s and 80s, and I said, no one is really tracking what's going on now in the 1990s in terms of programming strategy. And Fox Kids had just started as a network, and they were being very aggressive in the type of programming that they had. And also during the 90s, you saw like the first instances of digital coming onto these cartoon series. Like Reboot, which ran on ABC, was like the first 100% computerized 3D animated series. And then you had shows like Where on Earth is Carmen Sandiego that also used a lot of digital elements. And networks at the time started to pay, increase their animation budgets so that they would have these elements in their cartoons, which would hopefully give their schedule and their strategy an edge with viewers. Right. So there's something here for everybody, depending on what age you are. And if you didn't grow up on Saturday morning, it's good to find out the history and what it was like and why it was special and important.
Okay, cool. So one last question. If somebody wanted to purchase this online, where would they be able to find it?
I have a website. It's called The Best Saturdays of Our Lives. They can go online and purchase the book. It's $12.95. Not a huge investment.
I understand.
And they can go online and look at behind-the-scenes pictures with me, meeting with people in the industry like Lou Scheimer, who ran Filmation. Filmation was the studio that did Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids. He was a mentor to me. And there's also, I have a Best Saturdays of Our Lives blog that's connected to my website that showcases some of the original newsletters in their original form. Some of these newsletters did not actually make it into the final cut of the book because they were comic book related. Like one of the articles talks about Nubia, the Black Wonder Woman, ran in DC Comics, that started in DC Comics in the 70s, like with 3 issues. So I do a review of that. And there's other little behind-the-scenes things with the blog. So.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Wonderful.
And I hope you enjoy the rest of your Onyxcon.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, I am TaLynn Kel, and I am here. Could you introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Erin Michael Hall, and I write classic epic fantasy with a grimdark edge, and I also write science fantasy romance under Newland Moon.
Wow. So how long have you been writing?
I've been writing for my entire life.
I mean...
well, my first book, The Rise of Nazil, I finished that about 15 years ago. I did not decide to publish it until about 2 years ago. Yes.
Wow.
I wrote it just for me.
So what made you decide to publish it?
I started letting people read it. They were reading the manuscript and they were telling me that this was something that was missing, which is something I felt because that's why I wrote it, because I couldn't find something with diversity, real diversity, that was epic in scale and had all the fantastical elements that I've always loved. And so I created that.
That is awesome. I'm also a writer, so you're speaking to my heart. I do not write fiction yet.
Okay.
So, but I've been trying. It's a different, so I've done essay books because essays are easy, like you can just do them and
for you.
Oh. Yeah. For me, I can sit there and I can pop out an essay like literally in a few hours, and including citations and stuff, and just be like, here you go. But the mindset to actually do a long form fiction and keep the story cohesive, that's a struggle. So tell me about, like, is this an easy process for you, or is it, what is your process? Let's go with that.
Well, that's hard. I know it's unique to everybody.
Yeah.
When I wrote my first book, there was no rush because I wasn't writing it for anyone. So the story it developed over years. It's how I wrote it, and even the language that I created for it. Some of those words are words that my siblings and I created when we were little. And I just integrated them into this, and I made a huge language to go along with this, and a dictionary, which is not out yet. But and after people read it and I decided to publish, that's when I realized there was more to the story, because they were like, well, what's next? And I hadn't come up with anything next. So that's when the actual process of writing actually came to be. So I had to sit down, I reread what I wrote. I had to think about where I wanted these characters to go, because this is a whole book. The other two, that's a duology that follow it, but it's not a real trilogy. I have a standalone and a duology.
Okay. So, wow. Now, how's it been with the is it self-published, or are you doing agency actually?
Well, I started out, I was sending out the query letters, and I did get some responses, and people were interested if I split the book up into 3, and I made some changes. And yeah, it would have been easier to go with a publisher. But after doing some extensive research, I became a publisher. So I'm an indie publisher, and I kept my book the way I envisioned it and the way I wanted it.
Understood. So, and you might have already mentioned this. What's the name of your publishing company?
Xtaverin Publishing.
Okay. And are you accepting new authors?
See, I don't.
So basically, you're like, I'm a publishing company for me, only me.
I help people all the time, though, because I have an editor who I love, Morgan Smith, and anyone who knows that I have a company and they know I have illustrators and different people I use, I put them in touch with them. And they give them a little bit of a discount because I'm sending them there.
Okay.
You don't need anybody like me, who is also an author, to help you publish your book. You don't need me to take 60% of your money to get your work out there, and that's what I try to help people with the process.
That is actually really awesome. I'm going to hit you up for that. I'm not kidding. I'm really not kidding. You think I'm playing? I'm not, because this is like the dream. But I'm going to ask you this question. It's a highly personal question now. I know, right? Are you able to make a living solely off your writing and publishing?
At this point, no, because I just really started.
2 years ago.
Right, and this year is my first year that I've started doing conventions. So I had the writing, but I was still learning more about the process, because this is not anything I had planned on doing, is publishing. So marketing, advertising, and learning, eventually I've made quite a bit of more than I thought I would, actually. And with the conventions too, I sell much more at a convention in a couple of hours than I sell in a week online.
That's impressive.
Yeah, if you're out there, you're an author, please get out there to the conventions, let people meet who you are and see what you have, and I guarantee you'll fall in love with it.
That is amazing, and that is awesome. I am impressed. As I said, there's so many people who I know who write and they self-publish, but they do it through like CreateSpace or whatever. You don't get as much of your money through CreateSpace, because a lot of it is that we don't know what our options are in regards to what we can do.
It's getting better, right? It's very hard to make any real significant moves without Amazon. There's plenty of places to publish your work. There are all kinds of platforms available. But I always ask people when they come up at the conventions about where they go to look for books, or they ask me, the first thing they'll ask me is your book on Amazon.
That's true.
They are the major player, and you just can't get around that. And my science fantasy, Rights of Ergon, is book 1. That's the only audiobook that I have. And whereas there are a couple of places that you can produce your audiobooks, but again, Amazon, ACX, Audible, they are the major players, and that's where most of the people go. And even though I paid for that 100% myself, they still lock you in for a 7-year contract and take the majority of your profits for the book, for your audiobook. So
wow.
it's getting better. There's some competition coming, but it's getting better.
Wow.
Learn what's going on. No, sorry.
So, if anybody is interested in purchasing your books, they can go to your website.
Oh, yes. Yes, KarenMichaelHall.com.
And are you on social media at all?
I'm everywhere. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere.
Okay, cool. Is there anything that you would like to share? I know you already said that you work with the audience, work with people if they ask you for help and so forth, and that you share your contact and stuff. Is there any particular message that you would like to just send to other aspiring writers?
Just stay true to you. Write what you want to write, and don't let anyone tell you about how your creativity works. Because I've had so much of that, and there's so many of the wrong writers groups to be in. You need to find a good crowd of people who will be honest, but let you be creative. Because that creativity is something that someone else they can't control. That is yours alone. So when people were talking about the content of my books, and some of my books, and they're saying that no one's going to buy that.
Yeah,
and I'm saying, no, it's not. No, that's not true, because plenty of people buy that and enjoy that, and there's an audience. Just be true to yourself, and no matter how good you are, I don't care if you have a degree in every English anything, you need an editor. Everybody needs an editor.
That is true. I agree with that. Well, thank you so much for your time, and I hope that you enjoy the remainder of your Onyxcon.
Oh, yes, I'm having a blast.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. And thank you again.
Thank you. I love meeting you. When I see rubbing arm, because I'm going to do some stuff.
She actually gave me like the 2-minute mark already and everything, so we can actually just...
I saw something.
We can screw around right now.
Oh, we're all